it's illusion of healing. Well, you feel better, don't you? Yeah, you feel better because you're no longer engaged with the thing, the challenge. You haven't rise to the challenge of the occasion and learned both how you want to react and the impact you want to have on another person.
Hey, hello Nisa.
Hello, Reem.
And hello everybody to a new episode to Aneesah, not Nisa. I call you Nisa, but Aneesah and Reem say it loud. And we realized actually I got a ping and I told Aneesah, you know what? This podcast is amazing because we're tricking people. We are tricking you with hot topics, right? Like what's trendy. And then we are taking you by the hand and like starting like talking about like very sometimes uncomfortable subjects, sometimes maybe topics that you would not look to by yourself. So we are tricksters, right?
Diving deep.
Trickster.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So let's go. Let's start with the hot topic. So I have some, you have some. I'll start, and then okay, the biggest one, it's the passing of Val Kilmer, right? He passed at 65. So I didn't okay, I'm not a big on gossips, but I really like the actor, and for me, The Doors, his role in The Doors, the movie was like it was everything for me. I loved that movie. I loved his performance. I loved how he played it and the energy and so sensual. And anyway, it was like beautiful, beautiful movie. He did other stuff, but he's still like this figure, this like very talented actor. I don't know if you have another like view on him or like no.
I don't really. I'm familiar with who he is as an actor.
Mhm.
When I hear Val Kilmer, I think of Batman, but I can't even
Yeah,
fully visualize exactly him in
I
that
know.
role.
Huh?
To me,
Yeah.
he's kind of like one of those classic actors. Not, I assume, not too problematic, but I
Honestly, I
don't know.
never heard anything big about him. If we're
Yeah.
wrong, please, the comments are open. Like, please tell us. But
Mm.
I've, I respect him. I think for once you have an actor who's only acting, and like, he's like it's his craft, and he did it. And he passed sadly. Like, I think he had the throat cancer, and he passed.
I swear I saw he died of pneumonia. So he had throat cancer and then
Ooh,
passed. But
that's what I heard. Maybe I'm wrong, but just
pneumonia,
don't
no,
take
no,
my
like
word.
lung cancer will be the
Yeah.
major, and then the pneumonia
Yeah,
will
the
be the
immunity
thing that,
system.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. So I just wanted to talk about him. I'm like, just like for an homage, because I really like the actor. And then my favorite topic, Black Lively. Honestly, it's really like a joke now. It's like just this thing that is there that you have to talk about because it's just okay. So two things I want to talk about her. I want to say about her. First, you know how she was like, oh, there was no intimacy coordinator, and some stuff happened, and he did that, and he did that to me, and I'm not happy. So in the movie, another simple favor. Apparently, she grabbed another actor's drunk, and
Yeah.
I'll be like, I'm really
Yeah.
curious to like learn if there was an intimacy coordinator, and apparently it wasn't planned. She said, like in an interview, she said like it was very spontaneous. So
But she did
are we
ask for
allowed?
some amount of permission before. She said she
Really?
insinuated,
I d-
but yeah.
wait, 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 wait. Insinuated, or because it's her lawsuit is all about this, insinuated, yeah, but it wasn't clear. But she's taking that for her, like for herself, like to defend herself or to make her case. But now she's doing the same thing. Okay, if it wasn't clear, can you imagine if Justin Baldoni's team will try to talk to the actor and see, just like, because the other thing that what happened is like another thing that she twisted, because I think there's a lot of twisting of stories and
Mm-hmm.
of facts and
Mm-hmm.
all that. And the other thing that she twisted, and I heard it on I love Dave Neal's podcast, and Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. And she said in her lawsuit that Justin Baldoni and Jimmy Heat, his best friend, have this habit of like trading women. Okay. Yeah, and on Katie's Without a Crystal Ball, the channel, there's actually she put a clip of the Men Enough podcast where actually Jimmy Heat was talking about what happened. And what happened is that they went out in a like dancing or whatever. Justin saw this beautiful woman dancing salsa and he went to see her, like just whatever. It didn't hit. And he invited her, like, do you want to come with us for like a bunch of friends, blah, blah, blah. And then Jimmy Heat met the woman and actually she became his wife.
That's cute. That's
It's
cute. That's
you see how
not the
horrible
same
it is
as
to twist
that's
this
not the
beautiful.
same as exchanging women at all.
I know exactly, and it's terrible. Like it's a beautiful story, and you made it, and it's exactly the same thing about like she said, oh, he showed me a porn video.
The mother birthing her child. Yeah. Yeah.
Seriously? So
Yeah.
so this is really dishonest, and voila, another layer. So I think every day
Yeah.
is another layer, and for us, every time in our episodes, it's really nice to just have another layer because it's very entertaining. Thank you, Blake, because now we have like at least we have a hot topic, sorry, that will help us trick our audience to listen to
Mhm.
real good content and themes and subject. Anyway, so yeah, those were mine, and yeah, it's sad. Just like to make your point, to twist a beautiful like romance, like a sort of a romance, and then they're married and whatever, they have kids and everything's okay.
Mm.
And yeah, so you wanted to talk about Kanye and Trump.
It's the irony there. I'm not going to make any sweeping statements about those two characters, but the irony. Yeah,
Oh,
Kanye West went
yeah, I
on a
know.
bit of a Twitter rampage the last, I almost want to say, few weeks, because this is, and then he did an interview with Academics, this young vlogger streamer type. Don't even get me started about Academics.
Mhm.
But Kanye West showed up in a black, like a KKK costume, but in black,
Really?
similar. It's anyways, and the Nazi symbol and whatnot. I I don't. Yeah, I don't have an opinion, but it's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot.
Honestly, like at this point, like should we be worried? Should like
I'm
his
way past
entourage just
worried.
like
He has no
like
entourage. He's pushed his entire entourage out of it. And I think
oh,
he does a really good job of almost implying that it's wrong of anyone to speak about him on the grounds of mental illness.
mm,
But if you ask me, it is mental illness. And he has a song called Wait Till I Get My Money Right. As in, you can't tell me nothing. I could say what I want to say if I have money. And I feel like Kanye West has always worked towards this part of his careers. Well, he
yeah.
can theoretically say what he wants, and he's still got money in that bank account.
Yeah, actually, you're right. Like, if your money, you have the right to say whatever you want and do like weird. Like, look at Musk. Like, really, voila. Like, you can do whatever. It's sad. It's sad. Like,
I do not envy
mm,
these people's karma, but I digress. And then the second
I know.
one, money related,
Yeah.
and this is another person like Trump. And yesterday was Liberation Day. I didn't take the time to explore what that actually means. I think it's a new Americanized, anyways. So Liberation Day, and then he announced massive sweeping tariffs across a lot of different companies. I
Mm.
didn't tune into the actual announcement, but I wanted to see the aftermath. And just this morning, looking at the stock market,
Mm.
everything is
Yeah.
dropped. Everything is dropped to the point, like on the app that I use, if you click on the stock, it'll tell you, oh, this company does a lot of their manufacturing in Vietnam. So this is why their stock is dropping, because
Oh
there's
my
been a
God.
tariff on blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah. So it's interesting to see in this Make America Great Again movement.
I yeah. I'm really wondering what's the plan, or it's just like throwing stuff and see what's gonna stick. I don't know, like the spaghetti theory.
I have a sense of what I feel like is the justification for the plan, but
Mm.
I don't know. And I have so many ponderings and wonderings, but I do feel like it's not entirely surprising that we're all here.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
Like in at this point?
Yeah. What I mean, America has long not been the manufacturing capital of
Mm,
itself. Most of its goods come from outside of that country. They have a
yeah,
large population that's like somewhat underemployed or unemployed, and that is a lot of jobs. I'm not saying
yeah,
that,
yeah,
for them to do the manufacturing, but I just think I could see the paper justification of we're going to stop relying on external and start doing things for ourselves, and that will boost our economy. But to make such quick
yeah.
movements like that,
And
it's
and you're doing
unprecedented.
that, yeah. And we're not in the 80s, and you can do that, and then like deport a lot of potential workers,
Yeah.
right? Like I really don't understand. Like
It's a
it's
numbers game. I think there's just too many.
yeah,
When I say too many immigrants, I mean like the number on paper, right? For a long time, I don't know what the American population is on paper, but I think I remember learning, oh, it's 350 million people. Add another 50 million as
mm,
illegal immigrants and whatnot. So that's
yeah,
400 million people. And that's a lot of people for them to manage. And I think they're sort of scapegoating like
mm.
past regimes in problematic situations where you're blaming a group for something
Of course. Oh,
that
yeah, of
they,
course.
like,
That
have
it's
so little
easy.
control
Yeah,
on, exactly, and so
of
they're the
course.
problem. If you remove the problem, then everything is great, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's the thing, and I yeah, and I think that's. I was talking with a friend yesterday, and I was saying like it's funny because it's like advocating for something. So remove part of the population, immigrants or non-documented or whatever. They are part of the nation anyway, and they are doing their part. They're working, paying, like contributing in a way, and it is um like they are making the nation what it is. Like it's like it's here in Canada, like we have like a right, you know, how do you say, like wind blowing on us in Quebec, in Canada in general. And I'm like, dude, like you're against immigrants or you want less of us. Like, what are you gonna do? Like, you need us. We are contributing, right? So I agree that you have to take care of the undocumented, but if you need them, like be smart. Like you know what I mean? Make them a part of your success. Don't blame your failures on them.
America is a very
So deep.
racialized society, and I'm thinking of, I could be wrong, but like the last time that they brought in a lot of so-called immigrants
Yeah.
post slavery, where on paper
Mm,
there were more African Americans than there were white people, and they brought in all
yeah.
these groups and were like, you're white, so that they could
Ah,
increase their numbers. So I like, what I'm getting at is, I don't know, I think it's all, America is really America's PR campaign is phenomenal, right? They're really
yeah.
good at creating an image,
Oh,
and
yes. Oh, yeah.
and th- so what image is he working towards? It's only what, like 2 months in.
I know.
I'm
Oh my God,
yeah,
that's it. And
of a
already, like,
4 year term.
it feels like it's been a year. Too.
We're only 2 months in. What was it,
Yeah.
January 20th, something like that? Like, it's
Oh la
yeah.
la. Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know.
But I think I wanna say, if if there's any American people watching us or listening to us, you are more than welcome. More than welcome. It's not perfect. It's not perfect at all, but it's better. It's better than, like, I hope, like I heard some stuff about, like, I heard two things. Okay, I need to, like, I'm very sorry. I'm gonna like say them, even if I didn't research them more than that, but I trust the people who talk to me about them. Like all the laws regarding women, that they're gonna. I heard that they're gonna make women's vote more difficult. Uh, Let me explain. What I
How?
heard is that, okay, well, listen, and it's, oh my God, it's so
Mm,
vicious.
mm.
So apparently, and again, if anybody have more info, like I'm gonna look to it later, but if you want to vote, you need to do it under your own name, not your married name. So you have to go look for paperwork to be able to vote under your own name, to subscribe on the list. So they're going to make it harder for them to subscribe, to register to vote. So that's how they're going to just make it harder for them. It's exactly the same thing
Isn't it by default that when you get married in the States, by default you take on the husband's name and you have to
I really
specifically
don't know.
work to keep your maiden name? Whereas in Canada, I could be mistaken, but I remember looking at this in Canada, it's default the opposite. It's default your
Yeah,
married name stays the same,
yeah,
and if you want to take
exact,
on your husband's name, you
exact,
can. So
exact.
it's
So I
ironic
know,
if they
for
make
Canada,
women do that.
mais c'est ça. So it's really vicious, and also all the thing about if a woman, sorry, has a miscarriage, and it appears that it's her fault, and I'm like, how do you call it? Air quotes, air quotes.
Mhm.
It's her fault, air quotes, that she had that miscarriage, and we're talking about sometimes, okay, full disclosure, I had 2 miscarriages. And honestly, I wasn't on a bike. I didn't did horse riding, just my body. That's how it is. And imagine if you have a miscarriage and it's your fault. Oh, you went on a ride. So you can be facing murder charges. The F. The
Would it
F.
be a drug user's fault? It would be a drug user's fault. And I think low key, a lot of times, this is my personal belief, America is a little bit more Christianized than Canada. They
No.
fall on Christian, especially with Trump and the whole Supreme Court, the judge movement. Like there's a reoccurring theme of Christianity and Christian morals and whatnot. And yeah, it's
It's
unfortunate, but it's not
it's
entirely
shocking.
surprising.
Yeah, it's shocking. And there's other stuff like I heard this politician, I think it's in Texas or whatever, who wants to regulate the kids, like night shift for kids or something like that, for them to work at night. Yeah, yeah.
Their minimum wage already shocks. I think their minimum wage is under $8 technically, and it's a state by state, like the federal minimum wage. Every state has their own minimum wage based on their blah blah blah. But it's kind of remarkable to think. Like I remember not my first job, but one of my early jobs at the age of 17, I was making $7 an hour. That's over 20 years ago. So to think that there are still people in this economy earning that kind of a living, it's a lot.
Yeah, it's really scary, and that's how they tricked people, right, to vote for Trump, because they were
Yeah.
hoping that he will help them for groceries. Honestly, they were just like,
And it's
imagine,
the
I'm
complete
voting because I want to
opposite
afford
impact,
groceries.
and
Hmm.
it's the complete opposite impact. I do
Yes.
think that America has a lot to learn about being self-sustained. When I went on my American tour to, what did I do? I started in Atlanta and then,
Yeah, I
um,
remember.
Louisiana and LA. I think it was a taxi driver who said every state has their thing, right? So it's like oranges in Florida, blah blah like blah 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 blah.
Mhm.
And when you take that breath in, they do not sustain themselves. There are so
Yeah,
many things that they need that they have to get from other places. So,
yeah.
like, yeah, Mexico is gonna get really spicy with their avocados, for example.
California is not going to be happy. you
Duh.
know, country of avocado toast. Yeah, I don't know. It's really weird. Um yeah, and we can jump into our main topic,
Yeah,
which is
please. I'm so bad.
healing. Healing. So it's healing, the Western therapy, and let's say Eastern therapy. Okay. I'm the instigator of this topic because I saw a post from Christabel Minta Galloway. Okay, she's a writer and storyteller. We're gonna put her Insta because I really like her, or I like them. I don't know her pronoun. Their pronoun. Okay, I'm learning their pronoun. I really like them. I like how they think. And this post was about Western therapy, and they say Western therapy overteaches boundaries, underteaches repair. And it's something that I always had a problem with, because I have a toxic person in my family. Okay. Somebody I have no choice but to deal with, because if I decide to cut this person from my life, I'm cutting a large part of my family. And the choice that I made is to work on repair. Okay. So I'm just going to read you quickly the post. So they say therapy in the West focuses on how to leave a relationship, how to set boundaries, how to cut off toxic people. Therapy in the West rarely focuses on how to work through rupture, how to repair trust after harm, how to sustain relationships long term. Why? Because Western therapy modalities are often rooted in individualism. It assumes that independence is always better than interdependence. The goal of healing is self sufficiency, not connection. Avoidance of harm is more important than learning how to repair. Meanwhile, Black, immigrant, and collectivist cultures are often told to abandon their families and communities instead of being taught how to navigate them in healthier ways. The result? We are left choosing between harmful enmeshment, or complete disconnection. We don't just need boundaries, we need conflict navigation skills, repair and accountability tools, emotional intelligence in relationships. Learning how to stay, repair, and build relationships is just as important as knowing when to leave. And I was really touched by that, because
Mm.
when I tried traditional therapy, behavioral therapy, that the advice I got. Now I just need to, it's really important for me to say that if you you are in a, you feel you don't feel safe, that you are scared for your safety and your life, and that you feel endangered, you have to do whatever you have to do to make yourself safe. Okay, like it's really really important. What I'm dealing with is a huge narcissistic personality, right? And I can make the choice to repair, but not change the other person, right? So
Mm.
what I am doing, and it's not easy, like it's it's an everyday effort. It's to
Mm.
set boundaries and like choose to have this person in my life, but to, yeah, to learn how to sustain this relationship long term without it hurting me or my kids or whatever. And you know who I'm talking about. I don't want to, you know everything.
Mm.
But
Mm.
yeah, so and I totally agree with this thing about individualism. Like in our societies, Black, immigrant, and I like how she said collectivists. Like you can just just, okay, you're out of my life. Now, imagine it's I don't know, it's a grandma or a grandpa, and for you, ancestors are important,
Mhm.
and for you, like your community, it
That's
can
the
be around
word.
faith.
For
Yeah.
me, that's the word. It's community, and the individualism omits the importance of community.
Mm,
Community and relationships, family, all of that. It's so different for different people, right? Like
yeah.
I come from a very particular background, like only child of a single parent who was given up for adoption. So the family essence wasn't really there. So
Mhm,
family has become like the chosen family, right?
mhm.
And community has become for me the chosen community. Within that, there are all sorts of characters, and there are all sorts of wounds,
Yeah.
wounds that people are
Yeah.
aware of or not aware of. For me, and this is going to sound so wild, but I've learned to take the seriousness out of it. And the word I'm going to use is like, I've learned to troll narcissistic people in a way that's so disarming, where I'm like, really? That really? That's how you want to do it? And like, for sure, Western therapies don't teach about that. They're just like, ooh, protect your peace, cut them off. And I think
Yeah.
that I know this creates such a dangerous isolation that doesn't feel
Yeah.
good. So it doesn't, to me, it doesn't really treat the issue. The post, and there, a lot of the comments spoke to like,
Oh yeah, yeah. I didn't go through. You
yeah,
did. I
tell
didn't go
me.
through the comments.
Yeah.
No,
But a
you
lot
tell
of the
me.
comments spoke to like, what do you do if that other person is not partaking in that thing? Because it feels like a lot of it was like, communicate
Mhm.
your needs, and then work on coming to a common ground of understanding. And then a lot of the comments were like, well, what do you do if that other person doesn't want to, or is not open, or is not willing to? And I think that's where a lot of people in Western society get stuck.
Mm.
uh and
Can
like,
I share? Yeah.
please, yeah.
No, because I am in this situation, you know that. Like this person is not open at all. They're old. They're not going to change. It's like, honestly, it's too late, and they're not willing. They for them, communication of psychology, whatever, it's just for fools. Like it's something like for really, like it's a boomer from boomer's world,
Yeah.
boomers whatever. So I had to deal with that and really to choose, because again, I can't cut cut off this person, this toxic. I can't. So what I did, and it's usually that's what I'm seeing in my community, because okay, just for me, my upbringing is like, I'm from a very tight family. Like I grew up in Morocco. Like I was thrown at my grandma like more often than I with my cousins. And I grew up like with my all my cousins, like if we were like brothers and sisters, and my aunts, like we're really really close. Like my aunt from like the youngest is like only like 8 or 10 years older than me. And my mom, like she's like my sister, so we were really really tight. So I can't really cut anybody. So what I decided
Mm.
with this person is like, I had to heal myself. I had to say, okay, here I am not in danger. Nobody in my life is in danger. I feel safe. Like I can be safe. It's okay. So what can I do? So I decided to heal myself. So I'm not a victim anymore. So I need to build my self confidence. So their words and their action
Mhm.
have less impact on me, and
Yeah.
this is something I could do. And it's every day. Honestly, it's an everyday, because they are in my life. I see them every week. Okay, so what is happening for me now is like, when I'm around this person, I know what not to talk about. I'm not interested. When they try, I'm like, whoop. I'm like like a fish. I'm just slide, woo. I'm like slimy. What I don't know how to say. I
Mhm.
am like I'm trying, like, to be, yeah, to not give them anywhere where they can grab. Okay, and since they're a narcissist, it's I know what they need. Like I can see the little person, the little kid in them.
Mhm.
I'm able to see the need, right? So sometimes I am able to give empathy, like in IFS, in internal family system. It's a modality that I love. So I'm able to give them empathy and to help them. And sometimes I just can't, and it's okay. I avoid them in the same space, and you know what? They're not even aware. They're not even aware that we are in a better relationship.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I had another person, an uncle, that I just stopped seeing for a while, but it's just because I could. And my uncle didn't even realize that I was avoiding him until I was strong enough to face him. And when I faced him, it was like, how are you? It's been a while. Yeah, I'm good. Okay. Are you coming to have dinner with us? I'm not sure. Inshallah, but I'm not sure. Inshallah. Like if God's
Yeah.
willing. But that's it. It's just like, And it's a way I am protecting my community. I am offering my kids a community, but I'm also offering them tools to protect themselves. But these communities, I want them to know where they're coming from. I want them to know their
Yeah.
ancestors. And you know what? Toxic ancestors, if they're not harmful again, they can be like a beautiful teachers. Is it the Buddha who said your enemy is your teacher? So
Mm.
that's what I did, because I could, in my circumstances. That's how I chose to repair. But as you hear, I was repairing myself
Myself.
first.
Yeah. 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 It's funny. It's not a tangent, but it will sound like that. So my personality, Myers-Briggs, is INFJ. Every time I do the
Mhm.
test, I end up in the same place. And INFJ is known for doing what's called a door slam. When we've
Mhm.
had enough, the door
Mm.
slams,
Mm.
and that person's never coming back in.
Mm.
I I have done that many times before, and it has always been like to protect myself from somebody else's toxicity or
Of
whatnot.
course.
But I've learned to not door slam in that same way, to because it's twofold. I used to door slam and be like, I'm door slamming you. This is what you deserve. And now I'm like, you know what? Like, I'll call you back later, is where that has shifted to. And that's why, like, when I say trolling narcissists, it's really interesting to hold up a mirror to a person where you see that they are being their hurt inner child through like problematic external pipelines. So for
Mm.
me, narcissistic people, it's like they're not really capable of producing energy internally the same
Mhm.
way as some of us do. I'm someone who produces a lot of energy internally. It's exude, you're gonna pick up on it. And I've learned how to like shut off the tap when
Mm.
necessary to certain types of personalities, but still being not cordial, and it's like friendly and authentic, because not to say I feel bad for this person, but I understand. To me, that's what compassion
Oh,
is. It's the
yeah, yeah,
understanding
yeah.
plus the love. I understand that this person has learned, maybe from trauma, maybe from drama in their life, these ways to protect themselves. They counter my ways, but that doesn't mean I can't, with awareness, reflect back
Mhm.
their crap to them in a loving way of like, really, that's
Yeah.
that's how we're doing it. That, like, do you see that what you just said is quite narcissistic? And then they're like, ah, I didn't
When
see it that
they're
way.
able to do it, yeah.
When they're able, which
Because
is few and far between. I once made the mistake. I'm not even gonna say made the mistake. I once called a friend's husband. I didn't say he was a narcissist. I said, you do understand that when you do this, you're being narcissistic. And in the moment, he was like, yeah, I could see that, but I don't care. Okay, cool. That's fine. I just want you to be aware. But then that
mm,
translated into him calling his parents, saying, my wife's friend called me a narcissist. It's not what I said. And then it became, she's so rude. That's so disrespectful. How could she do that? And I was like,
was
okay,
playing the
if we're
victim.
gonna play this game, we're gonna play this game. But I see
Yeah,
you,
yeah,
and we're not doing this. And I think
yeah.
that's the compassion. And it's also like, I really strongly believe in disempowering the demon. And these are words I use loosely, but the narcissist, they hold something that a lot of our society is like, oh my God, oh no, not the narcissistic
Yeah.
people. And it's like, no, I'm going to face that demon and like, here, do you
Mm,
need a hug? You want a hug?
yeah.
Like, bring it in, bring it in.
But I'm very happy that you're talking about, like, how do you say it? How do you, about the demon? Disempowering the demon?
Hmm.
It's, you know why? It's so true. I heard on a podcast, I forgot, it was like a doctor talking about toxicity, about narcissism, and how narcissists are created, because you're not
Hmm.
born narcissist. Narcissism is a self-defense mechanism.
Coping
It's
mechanism.
exactly, and it comes from trauma. It can be any kind of trauma. It comes from trauma, and you become a narcissist, but you can't unbecome a narcissism. And narcissism is really like a coping mechanism. And when you're able, and when you have the chance or the circumstances to see the demon, air quote again, in that person, and you see how they became
Yep.
that, right?
Yep.
And that's what's happening with this person in my life. I know exactly, that person was like hit badly when they were a kid, like they were like the upbringing was
Mm-hmm.
terrible, and that's
Mm.
the coping mechanism. and
Yeah.
and when I learned to do that, and when I started just listening to what they are saying when they are hurt or mad, oh my god, it was like the little kid was speaking, was really, and again, when I have energy and enough space, I give empathy, and when I
Yeah.
don't,
I sort of tell myself it's the inner child who's created the image of a monster to protect the inner child from the things
yeah,
that hurt
oh,
them.
exactly, mais oui, exactly,
Mm.
yeah,
It's there is another side
fascinating.
which I have experienced of narcissistic behaviors in certain relationship is grandiosity, because I do think it's twofold. It can
Mm,
either come from trauma or it can come from the sort of grandiose childhood where the child is all
yeah,
important,
like
you're
the little
number
king,
one, you're the best, the little king,
yeah, yeah,
exactly. You're the
yeah,
world is yours, the world is here to serve you. And I'm
mm,
not gonna retell the story of Narcissi, but I do think it's a cute story. Like his mother loved him so much. Everyone told him, "You're the most beautiful person in the world, most intelligent." He had this crew that was following him. They wouldn't even, everything is yes, Narcissi, yes. Narcissi goes
mm.
walking off into the forest thinking they're still behind him. They all leave him alone, and he's still there talking to himself because he's all that matters. There's
Yeah,
something about that in that, like, there's a reason that mythology and that we call it what it is, the narcissism and Narcissi and all of that. And it's the hurt inner child. And to go back to your original point, I've never been convinced that cutting off the hurt inner child
yeah, yeah,
is the way to fix anything. And I've learned it's not my goal to fix them. It's not even my goal to change them. It's barely my goal to at least reflect back so that they have the awareness of. I'd rather someone who's like, yeah, I do some narcissistic shit
yeah,
sometimes
yeah,
than
yeah,
someone
yeah,
who's like, what are you talking
yeah,
about?
yeah,
So
yeah,
to me, that's where becomes important. And that's my role in community. It's twofold. It's like the irony of my name, Aneesah. There's a interpretation of it where it means like safe space, safe place, somewhere where you can go for safety. And if you create that safe place for a narcissistic person, they start to unravel in themselves. It's subtle and sometimes it takes time, but I do
yeah,
there's something I find, and I'm not trying to romanticize it, but I do find something beautiful about a narcissistic person who can have those awarenesses and have moments of like clarity where they're like, oh, that's why I do
yeah,
this.
yeah, yeah,
It's hard,
yeah.
but there is
Yeah, and
something to
I think
that.
the older they are, and I think a lot of boomers are like that, right? Like the generation, like two generation before us or whatever. It's very hard because there's no connection to the emotions. It's very hard to find, and like that's, I think that's the problem of a lot of the societies in the West, where people are alone, people are craving communities, people are living by themselves, and there's no village around them. Even like a chosen family, like they, because there's not this, sometimes, since I'm here in Canada, and it's been 30 something years. Oh yes, I'm old. I I've always been very amazed and surprised, but surprised and sad in the same time, when people will tell me, "Oh yeah, I just the other day, 2 days ago, I was it's a mom, like in at school. She was like, "Oh yeah, no, I was 17 when I went traveling, like in Canada, and then my mom called me and she told me, "Oh, I found love. I'm moving. Bye. I'm going to another to another province." And I was like, "What happened to you?" She's like, "Oh, I took an apartment with a roommate, and your family. Oh, my aunt didn't want to like didn't want me to stay with her. So and I know for me it's foreign. It's for me it's like there's nobody around. Of course not. Like I think the parents were divorced, the mom cut off all the family, the dad is absent, the aunt is like no, there's no sense of community. Like even and for me, what I do with my neighbors and my neighbors, like I have Quebecois neighbors, like white. I have from my other neighbors are from Moldavia, the other ones are from Italy. Like there's a lot of people, and there's a lot of small kids, and for me my house is open like most of the time. Like can this, like, my friends stay for dinner. Yeah, if I make food for 4 people, there's food for 6. And I'm trying to recreate what my grandparents were doing in Morocco, what my parents did in Morocco and here in Canada, just create this sense of community.
That is one of the advantages of the immigrant community, is that they've come in with a
Mm,
deeper sense of community. And I'm saying that, like, I grew up in Montreal, both in an immigrant um environment, like the
mm.
quartier, the neighborhood I grew up in was one of the most multicultural in North America
Oh,
at that time.
Denise.
But then I was
Yeah.
also going to school with other types of kids. Like I went to an elementary school in a very wealthy neighborhood, and then CJEP and da da da. So you see a lot of
Yeah.
different interactions. And one thing I've had these instances even as an adult where I'm friends with someone, something happens and they'll make a comment, and I realize, oh, your
Yeah.
upbringing was so not communal. Like you had your mother, your father, if you're like both, if you're lucky,
Yeah.
whatever, maybe a sibling or two, and that was it. Whereas I grew up with like 45 cousins, 19
Exactly.
aunties,
Exactly.
like how many uncles, whether I'm related to them by blood or not, these are people that give me a look and I know what's up, or you know what I mean, or they tell you something and you're gonna listen to them like you would your own parent, because the saying, it takes a village to raise a community.
Yeah.
And I think that is 100% something that Western philosophy, psychology has, I don't even want to say lost sight of. I don't think it ever had that. I don't
Mm.
think that. And if I
Or
look at North
a
American
very long time
history,
ago. Yeah.
it didn't necessitate that in the
Yeah.
same way. And
Yeah.
I think part of the reason that Western society kind of recoils to community, because one of the things I thought was really interesting in the comments, there were a few either psychologists or therapy trained people who really rejected the message of that post and were like,
Really?
it's uncertified people. Okay, here's one. As a
Yeah.
marriage and family therapist, this is just so inaccurate.
Really.
And there's a few like that. There was one that really, let's see if I can find this.
When it's so assured, and it's never good. Like when there's no
Oh,
space
here.
for
Also love that the people posting this are never certified in therapy, do a meta-analysis and provide citations and get back to me. This is not what we do in therapy. False information and another Instagram guru with no accreditation. Now, here's
of
the
course,
problem I have with that.
easy. Mm-hmm.
When someone is Western society trained,
Mm-hmm.
they become what is called in sociology ethnosyncratic. It means
Yeah.
my way is the right way and every other way is the wrong way. That
Yes.
shit really pissed me off because
I know.
there's such a conditioned narrow-mindedness within Western philosophy, psychology, even religion.
Mm.
Is there's some irony to the fact that of the 4 or 5 major religions, the only one that says you could be whatever religion you want and also practice this one is Buddhism. But every other
Mm.
religion is like you're this and nothing else. It's a
Mm. Oh,
very
yeah.
monolithic
It's
sort
a
of
philosophy also. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
perspective.
No, 100%. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Western philosophy, because of survival, whatnot, community was dissipated. Don't even get
Yeah.
me started on the ways that the government went out of their way to destroy the community within the Black community.
Yeah. Yeah.
But community as a whole has never been the goal of major society, mainstream society, governmental
Yeah.
society.
No. And also when you have disconnected people in a society, it's easier to control. You have consumerism because when you're empty, when you don't have anything that fulfills you, you go and you spend money, and like you want to be. You find ways to cope that are good for government. You work more, you work longer,
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I'm having I'm like having an
Tell me.
excited thought. So I think it was this past summer, I saw some sort of news video, and it was about a particular block in whatever neighborhood in Montreal where every summer or every week, whatever, every month, they do a communal dinner. And they literally set up
Mm,
a long table in the alleyway. All the kids,
yeah,
parents, everybody comes out and they socialize, and it's just a vibe, right? And
yeah.
it's a vibe. Here's something that really screams out to me. I'm convinced that our society fully believes in this ideal of perfectionism, as if we are not
Mm-hmm.
flawed individuals. And Western psychology says if that person is flawed, they shouldn't be in your life. Now, who is not flawed? Who among us doesn't carry their own baggage, their own wounds, their own whatever? And yes, it's our responsibility to do the healing that we can for ourselves. But
Mm,
to act like we're better than somebody else because we don't have this, that, or the other is so hypocritical. It infuriates me. And I
yeah.
find Western psychology never wants to question that because its whole system is created in a way where it's illusion of healing. Well, you feel better, don't you? Yeah, you feel better because you're no longer engaged with the thing, the challenge. You haven't rise to the challenge of the occasion and
Yeah.
learned both how you want to react and the impact you want to have on another person. Instead, you're just like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
I hate that defeatist mentality. And I'm
I
sorry, it
know.
is a defeatist mentality. And blindsiding it with like, oh, maintaining your boundaries and protecting your peace. Like, no, you're choosing not to engage in society because guess what? The world is hard. The world's on fire. Society is not having a good time. Everyone's doing the best they can with what they have. And
Mm,
Western psychology basically is saying, hey, it's not good enough.
yeah. Yeah.
I'm not
No,
doing it.
it's I no, it's
Rant done.
yeah.
Sorry. I got heated.
Breathe,
Oh,
Nisa. I'm here for
like,
you.
and this
Like,
is the
I have
Aquarius that
the
comes
whole
out.
space for you. I
And this
know.
is the Aquarius that comes out of me. Aquarian, and I'm going to go into astrology, but Aquarius is the sign of people,
Yeah.
humanity as a
Yeah.
group. And that whole, like, we are an individualistic society because we seek to fill our voids individually. We
Yeah.
don't seek that in community, in other people. We're not conditioned, we're not trained on not relying on other people, but like partnership, doing this together. And I don't
Yeah.
just mean romantic relationships. I always say,
I know.
do not let be romantic relationships be the only relationships that you invest in.
Yeah. Amen. Yeah.
And it is an
I'm
investment.
I'm going to give you two
Sorry.
examples. I'm going to give you two examples. No, 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 of how I learned about community and how we practice community in my country. Okay. And it is also something that I try and we are doing it. You are my kid's auntie. Like, I mean, like you are our child. Like you are
100%.
my, like when I met you, you were my husband's little sister, and then like we became friends, and now like
Yep.
you're my sister and you're my that, this is we
Yeah.
did it. But in Morocco we say, I think it's a Muslim thing, but I'm not sure, but they say your neighbors is 5 houses in front of you, 5 houses behind you, 5 houses on the left, 5 houses on the right. And in my at my grandma's, there was like the living was like this little like a triplex, like 3 apartments. And when my grandma would cook something, okay, and
Mhm.
the neighbors will smell it, she will always have a plate for them. And
Mhm.
and when the neighbors cook something and we're like, so good, we knew that a plate will come for us.
Yep.
That's for me, that's community. So, and
Yep.
I also have that with one of my neighbor, Antonella. She's Italian, and she's like, yeah, I made too much cookies, do you want some? Like, I'm like, yeah, I made too much food, like, do you have dinner, like, and it's just the flow. That's
I've
community, right?
Yep. I've lived in the sixplex that I live in for 10 plus years.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of neighbors that come in and out. Now with the neighbors, like I have the number of that side and down. Like they have each other's number. She's borrowing a ladder to put up her birthday decorations. He'll hey, do you mind lowering the music? I'm so sorry, but I have a headache today. Like, oh, no problem. I got you. Like, we have days like that. And like even the neighbors next door, and there's kids in that household, and there's so much like, how you doing? Have a good day. And concern. Like we've all had issues with our car, little hit and runs, whatever, bumper damage, and they're like, oh, I saw that on Saturday. I wasn't sure if it was there. And I don't see that a lot. And I feel like I went out of my way to do that. Like I remember the first time this neighbor, he complained to the landlord that I was playing music past 11. It was literally like 10:59. It was such a joke, and it was on the lowest volume. And I remember being like, if you have an issue, just text me. I'm here. Like I'm open. It's fine. There's no conflict. Just let me know. And since then we're like, do you need help putting together furniture? I have this. Do you need a tool? I got this whole tool. Yeah. And there's that sense of community. And what I appreciate is, how do I say this? In many ways, culturally, these are people that would not otherwise give a flying crap about each other. They're from completely different socioeconomic backgrounds, ethnic, like the whole gamut is very different in this building. And yet one thing we can all agree on is community. Have a good day, smiles, good vibes. Like
and especially in a big city, you know that somebody is caring about you. If, for example, Aneesah, if you, I don't know, your apartment is silenced for like 5 days and you don't, the people don't know
5 days. She already texted me. Are we going? Where are you at? Like 5 days. She was talking about that. Like if it's too quiet, I'm like, where are y'all at? One time she went out with her daughter, and I was like, I didn't hear you call me to help you with the stroller. You let me know what's going on. Like, and it's that caring compassion. This is a really interesting tangent that I'm having on the tip of my tongue. And it kind of ironically comes back to Val Kilmer. And I don't know his situation, but I do feel like in a lot of ways, our society has conditioned us to fear dying alone. And what that means. And I think like we have this push and pull relationship with what that means, where we're like, I'm protecting my peace. I don't need these people in my life. And then you're like, but I don't want to die alone. And I think that space, we all have to explore for ourselves what that means, whether we're comfortable with that or not, or if that's not what you want, then how are you working towards not having that? I'm a bit of an anomaly. Like I think I'm going to live till 120. Chances are most of my friends will not be alive at that
be there
point
anymore. Yeah, that's true.
And it'll be their kids and their kids' kids and whatnot. And I think about like nurturing those I think about your kids as adults. Yeah, come to auntie. I do need your help with this, that, and the other. Like absolutely. What do you need? And you know what I mean? And that community is so strong, and that is what Western psychology sometimes forgets. And this for me is why it's important. Like I made an effort to find a therapist who looked like me.
Yeah, well,
who could understand some, like, just the nuances of what I was dealing with, both at work and in my personal life. Like even something like she has tattoos, like just that. She's not going to be judgmental. She's not looking at me as if I'm some sort of X, Y, or Z.
Yeah.
And I think that is the space that Western psychology, especially in North America, is afraid of, because unfortunately those systems, because of access and whatever, are predominantly held by white people. With like I had a friend, I used to have this very waspy friend, I say with love, like white Anglo-Saxon Protestant, and every time she'd come to my house, she'd be like, that you cook it like that? You do it like that? And I'd ask her questions, and I came to realize, like, oh, your upbringing was like Mayo basic.
Yeah.
And that's fine. But here, this is how we do it. You need a plate, like
Exactly. Like you also you're sharing and teaching what's possible. I have a friend like that. Like I've known her for 20 years, and she's white from white, and she would come home and she was like, oh, like, no, no, come sit,
Yeah.
like, you're hungry, kitchen is there, you're more than welcome. And she came to Morocco, and she was like, oh my god, like my parents, like, they're like,
Uh,
yeah, you're our daughter now, like, like, you met my mom and my aunts, and
Met your
you
mom.
know
I spent a good
yeah,
amount of time with your mom, and that
exactly. And I wasn't
was
even there, you were alone with her.
funny is I was house sitting for you, and then that was one of the best, like, other people's mom interactions I've ever had. And she kept, like, she'd look at me and be like, "You're really da 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 da," and in this way of love, like, she'd be like, "You really drive like your husband. Apparently, I drive
Yeah,
like your husband. Apparently." And the way she looked at me, she's like, "You drive like a man," and I was like, "Yes, I do." But again, exposure
yeah,
and whatnot, I think that is
yeah,
again how we make community stronger, because maybe she looked
yeah,
at me and realized, like, oh, he's not so, you know,
yeah,
intense or whatever, because there are so many other people like
yeah,
that too.
yeah.
I am such an
That's true.
avid believer in community and, like, calling people
Yeah,
aunts and uncles who you're not related to. I spent this
yeah,
past Christmas with a family that I'm not technically related to. Like, I
yeah,
so strongly believe in those interactions.
yeah. And
So, and
it's
those people are
really,
not
sorry.
perfect. They are
Yeah,
damaged. People are
it's
not
it's
perfect.
it's exactly what I was gonna say, because when I was younger, I was so against calling aunt and auntie, and uncle, anybody like this that is not from my family. But and my own family was like, oh, those people are toxic. I can't wait to like grow up and leave and whatever. And now it's super important. And now I'm forcing my kids to call people that they are not related to, like auntie and uncle, because of respect. And maybe in
Mm,
conclusion, and it's something that we can talk about on another episode, how, yes, we so far we only talked about mostly the positive aspects of community, but there are also negative aspects that can be a little bit like, as a introvert and hypersensitive person, community, it has been hard growing up with it, but as an adult, I think it's a negative thing that is good in a way.
mhm.
That is something like, exactly as you said, like you have to, like, to have the positive of the community, not dying alone, always having people caring for you, etc. You have to be able to deal with the negative side of community
The
too.
challenges.
Exactly. Like you can't
Mhm.
have just like the rainbow side and all cute and lovey and we love each other. No, there's also like a side where, like, you have to deal with what's
I think
in front
our
of you.
society is so positive negative. Like, our
Yeah.
positivity is negativity because we're so hyper fixated on the positive, and just the, like, we
Oh,
just want
yeah.
good. We just want good. We just want good. And
But
it's like we
yeah,
just want to feel happiness, but you can't always feel happy if you don't know what it means to feel
we
sad.
exactly, we talked about that. How do you want to know what's happy means if you didn't experience sadness, right? Or grief, or you
Or
know?
even the joy of, like, realization of
Yeah,
community, like that
yeah,
moment where you say, you have a compassionate interaction with someone, and they
mm,
laugh, or they let go of some of their
mm,
stresses, or they, you know what I mean, they come back to center.
yeah,
That
yeah.
is so rewarding, and, like, to dismiss that and not participate in that, to me, is, it's a deficit. It's not real to the human experience.
Mm, amen. Let's end this episode, because you know us. We
We
can
can
go and
go
go and go and
on.
go. Thank you for listening. Oh, you listener. Thank you. Like, now, if you can give us 5 stars, that would be amazing. You can comment, tell us what you think, if there's any topics you want us to talk about. And if, you know what, Aneesah, I think we are super, like, open if they want to correct us, if they want to engage conversations about,
100%.
like, hot topics. We love debates. We love
Mhm.
respectful conversations. Like, we're super open. So, yeah, share your truth. We are here for you. We are holding space for you. Thank you, Nisa.
Thank you, Reem.
Bye.
Bye.